Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. We are completely stripping away the casual, kind of twisted language that society often uses to minimize relationship breaches, and we're looking directly at the stark clinical reality of betrayal. Let's get right into it.
So when you hear terms like betrayed partner, it honestly sounds like dramatic hyperbole, right? Like some grandiose word meant for a movie script or a soap opera. But we're going to establish exactly why this is a documented academic reality. Often our daily language just gets twisted into new meanings or connotations that don't fit the original academic use of the word. Think about how certain terms like how the word retarded was actually originally a formal scientific label in the medical community, but as society started using it nefariously, it became synonymous with discrimination, and the clinical literature literally had to change to reflect a better, more respectful understanding. Language gets twisted. So we carefully and methodically chose the word betrayal because its actual definition perfectly matches the devastating reality of these breaches. And there are a few more words we're going to cover today that might raise some eyebrows or maybe the hairs on the back of your neck. Words like cheating, infidelity, infidels, fraud, and manipulations. We need a strict vocabulary so no one gets the wrong ideas.
Okay, let's dive into this. The absolute fundamental human need is to feel safe and protected by a partner. It's the foundation of everything. The first rule of connection is safety. Betrayal strikes at the very core of this. When that safety is shattered by deceit, it's not just a sad event or a, bump in the road. It is a profound psychological rupture that literally changes how your brain processes security.
Here is our roadmap for the explainer today. We'll start with the reality of betrayal, then defining the breach, look at the spectrum of cheating, the pathology of manipulation, and finally, steps to rebuild.
Section 1. The reality of betrayal. It's time to actually validate the intense psychological impact detailed in the clinical source material.
All right, here is our first major vocabulary term, and it's absolutely crucial: betrayal trauma. Listen, this isn't just a bad breakup. It is a complex interpersonal trauma. It causes intense hypervigilance, intrusive thoughts, and it physically alters the brain's emotional response center. It completely shatters a person's reality and their core beliefs about the world. The terminology here is clinically accurate. It exhibits symptoms that are basically identical to PTSD. The trauma is real, and the label fits the severity perfectly.
Section 2. Defining the breach. Because before we can even talk about healing, we have to define exactly what was broken.
Casual society constantly minimizes severe actions, don't they? Oh, it was just a mistake, or come on, we're just friends. But the clinical reality strictly defines this as a violation of perceived relational boundaries. We absolutely must use rigorous academic definitions. When heavy vocabulary like cheating, infidelity, infidels, fraud, or manipulations are just thrown around casually in conversation, people get totally wrong ideas. Today, we're pinning down exactly what these terms mean, so we have a solid shared foundation and zero confusion moving forward.
Section 3. The spectrum of cheating. Let's build out the first half of our clinical taxonomy.
Term number 2 on our list: emotional cheating. Now, notice that physical contact is not required at all for a profound betrayal. It's about redirecting those core emotional needs, sharing your deepest secrets, and giving your personal vulnerabilities to someone outside the primary relationship. Stealing intimacy like that is just as damaging to the emotional security of a partnership as any physical act.
And this brilliantly illustrates our next concept: micro-cheating. Infidelity isn't always some single explosive, dramatic event. A lot of times, it's a slow, steady erosion of integrity. Secretive texting, obsessively following an ex on social media, constantly liking someone else's photos, these are incremental boundary violations. While they might seem kind of small in isolation, they signal a gradual yet profound disengagement from the primary partner. It just chips away at the trust over time.
Next in our glossary, we're looking at physical cheating versus cyber cheating. Physical cheating is that direct breach of physical exclusivity we all know. But cyber cheating? That's the digital diversion of intimacy: sexting, explicit messages, online relationships. What is absolutely vital to understand here is that regardless of the medium, whether it's in person or through a glowing screen, the boundary violation and the resulting betrayal are completely identical. Then we have financial cheating, or financial infidelity. This is a massive one. We're talking about hiding significant debts, opening secret bank accounts, or having all this unexplained discretionary spending. There's also what's called transactional cheating, which is essentially using hidden funds to maintain a secret affair. Hiding money or hiding debt is a profound fraud.
It's a betrayal of both psychological and financial trust that honestly can even carry significant legal penalties if you separate.
So the crucial point here is this often overlooked form of betrayal called relationship anorexia. Notice how this doesn't involve a third party at all. It is the deliberate withholding of emotional or physical intimacy. Sometimes, the most severe betrayal isn't an external affair. It's the deliberate neglect and the creation of a profound, painful void within the commitment itself.
Section 4. The pathology of manipulation. Let's switch gears and look at the covert psychological tactics used to maintain control.
Let's define manipulation really clearly. It's not just being difficult or having a communication issue. Not at all. It is a corrosive psychological tactic used specifically to gain power and control over someone else. It weaponizes ambiguity, it completely undermines all emotional safety, and it has absolutely no place in a healthy partnership. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the term gaslighting. This gets thrown around casually in pop culture a lot right now, which honestly dilutes its heavy academic weight. But clinically, gaslighting is insidious. It systematically destroys a person's ability to trust their own mind by simply claiming, "that never happened," or "you're crazy, you're making things up." It's a severe form of emotional abuse designed entirely to evade accountability. Let's contrast two more, the silent treatment and emotional blackmail. Both are incredibly severe methods of coercive control. The silent treatment is passive-aggressive withdrawal designed to punish and isolate you, making you feel completely powerless. Emotional blackmail, on the other hand, is an active threat. It's weaponizing emotions to force compliance, like saying, "well, if you really love me, you would do this." Both tactics completely strip away a partner's autonomy. Finally, we've got covert control tactics. Covert intimidation uses these veiled threats and really subtle tone changes to assert power without ever having a direct confrontation. And then there's love bombing, using this overwhelming, manipulative affection and gifts to disarm a betrayed partner and totally distract them from the abusive behavior. Both of these are specifically designed to keep the victim completely off balance.
Section 5. Steps to rebuild. Now that we've established our real clinical vocabulary, let's look at the actionable framework for healing.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because rebuilding trust is a monumental task. But the literature is very clear on the core steps. Number 1, full disclosure. No more secrets, no more lies of omission. Number 2, empathy and remorse. This means radical accountability and validation from the unfaithful partner without any defensiveness or blame shifting. And number 3, consistency and patience. Healing from this kind of trauma is not a straight line, and long-term consistency is absolutely non-negotiable if you want recovery.
Wow, so we've covered a lot of ground today. We defined everything from micro-cheating to gaslighting to relationship anorexia, and hopefully restored their true clinical gravity. A shared vocabulary is really the very first step to reclaiming your reality and cutting through all that manipulation. So I want to leave you with this question to reflect on. Now that you have the precise academic words to name your experience, what boundaries will you clearly define today? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.